at starting a full-on video. I've been doing shorts because I did the stupidest thing you can do, which is I started to get some kind of hope that I would get some views, because I did a couple of shorts that got like 700 views, which is basically nothing. I mean, as far as shorts go, that's the same as getting no views. It's the equivalent of getting 0 views on a full video. Maybe the equivalent of getting like 1 view, possibly. But even on my shorts, I was getting like no views or like 2-3 views, which might have even just been me watching my own videos. I don't know. But for some reason, I had a couple of videos that had like 700 views, and like an idiot was like, oh, wow, maybe I'm onto something, and, you know, made a bunch of shorts, and most of them got like no views. Those couple of 700s an aberration. It must have been, there's kind of like a, even though I don't think there's a lot of data in there, because 700 is still terrible for a short, but it is some kind of data of like, what did I say? What was the subject matter that caused it to get at least a minuscule amount of traction, you know? So if I really cared, I would analyze that and be like, maybe that at least is like an arrow pointing me somewhat in the right direction. But I'm just done trying on YouTube. I can't really say that I've tried that hard, but I've tried hard enough to kind of realize how hard it is. And then I've just observed things like people that are mildly famous, they're like, I would say they're somewhat famous. Even sometimes those people don't have like that much traction on YouTube, you know? And then I'll see like people that are only like locally famous, they will sometimes struggle. Like, I saw a guy that was a former Boston sports radio guy, and he was trying to make his own podcast on YouTube about the Patriots, and he was struggling mightily. Like, just like seemed like you'd think a person would, you know, like getting like a couple of 100 views at best. And you know, and like it did. I stopped watching him because I didn't like some of the things he said, but. Even, I don't know what ended up happening. I think probably just that he gave up, but because he was growing a little bit, but it was like he was still only getting in like the hundreds of views, and that's just not going to cut it, you know. Like, he was doing it because he had been laid off from his radio job, and so he probably thought that this was some way he was going to make, you know, a living, and you're just not going to make a living with a couple hundred views. So there's that evidence, and then there's my own evidence that it's just not worth trying. It's just not a realistic thing, you know. It's like me trying to become like an underwear model or something. It's just some things you just have to accept just aren't going to happen, you know. But the only it's just really like this kind of stuff. Like, even if I put a lot of effort into it, like I had a set and I used graphics and I wrote a script and everything, you know, and I spent hours editing the thing. People just wouldn't click on it because they just don't know who I am. They don't care, you know. There was a time when YouTube was young where famous people weren't on YouTube because famous people didn't realize how much money you could make on YouTube, and so they just didn't bother with it. And that's when regular people, by default, became the famous people on YouTube. But that era just seems to be gone. I think maybe that's more something that can happen like on TikTok. But I don't deal with TikTok whatsoever. I've never been on TikTok, so I wouldn't really know that for sure. But I think maybe it's a little bit better. It's probably still mostly dominated by people that are already famous. But I think maybe that there's a little bit more opportunity than there is on YouTube. But the only success I've ever had on YouTube was... so the thing about gaming channels is they don't have a lot of potential because they don't have a mass appeal, right? You're never going to become this person with like millions and millions of subscribers. But it's easier to get like some traction because there's a built-in interest in the game. They don't have to care about you. They don't even have to like you that much. They just have to have an interest in the game that you're playing, and like you'll get some. So that's the only time I've gotten like anything was playing a particular game, and even then it was like it was bad. It was bad, you know, by the standards of ever hoping to make any money. Never mind a living, but literally making any money, like getting monetized. It was never going to happen. I think I had maybe like 400 subscribers or something, and I would get like on a good video I'd get like 1,000 views, and on a bad one I'd only get like 200 views. So it wasn't going anywhere, but at least it was better than this where I'm getting like 2 views. I do think presentation matters. Like I don't even put thumbnails on these, and they're full length. If you don't put a thumbnail on a full length video, just forget about it. But I don't, because I just don't care. But even if I did put a thumbnail, wouldn't really make a whole lot of difference. And then plus there's this whole like the algorithm thing where this particular channel is pretty much already ruined because I've made over 100 videos and none of them have gotten any views. So the algorithm won't even promote my stuff. It would probably take like a serious effort. It would probably take like another 100 videos just for the algorithm to start to think, oh, maybe this dude's videos are not too bad. I don't know. But I don't know, just rambling. I guess this is just another diary entry. I'm doing bench 5x5 once a week, which is probably not enough, but at my age, it's probably what I can handle, you know? Like my shoulder, it's Friday today, so I'm at like the end of my workout week. I don't work out on the weekends. And like my left shoulder, which is, you know, kind of my shitty shoulder, it feels kind of shitty. Like I need the rest. I need to do no lifting over this weekend and hope that by Monday my shoulder feels all right. So it's about what I can do, even though it's definitely not optimal as far as building muscle or gaining strength. You definitely want to be lifting more often than that. But today I did 260 for the first time for my 5x5. So that's pretty good. I mean, because that's 5 sets of 5, and I completed it with 260. So that tells me that if I was just fresh, I don't know what I could do 5 reps with. Maybe 275, possibly. I don't know. I don't have a spotter, so I'm not going to... Plus, I just don't want to risk injury, so I'm not going to go that heavy. Like 5x5 is probably as heavy as I need to be going. And it's probably only for a short period of time, just because I want to see if I can gain some strength. And then I'll go back to a regular, like 3x10 kind of deal. I'm never gonna do like a powerlifting routine, which would entail going even lower than 5 reps. That's not my intention. Even though it's fun, I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I'm old, you know. I gotta be careful. What else is going on? So I'm really trying hard to be more productive. And like you're definitely happier when you're productive, but it's like when you're not productive and you're in a depression, it feels like you don't want to do anything. It feels like the last thing you want to do is be productive and do things. You recoil from that, even though that when you do it helps, you know. So I'm just like, I'm back trying to do everything right. Like, well, the only thing I'm not actually doing right is my diet. I need to. That's the next step, but. I'm actually using my CPAP. I'm really trying to use it. And I was able to sleep through the night a couple times. And then I think like last night, I woke up in the middle of the night, but I was determined. I said, because what I would do in the past is I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like to take a piss, or maybe I would wake up because the CPAP was annoying me. And so then I would just take the CPAP off and go to sleep. But now I'm like, no, I'm taking this piss and then I'm putting this CPAP back on. And I feel like maybe that has helped me too. And then that damn Mud, that game that I told you is like the most addictive game ever. I've cut down on it considerably. And I really need to make the decision of whether I just need to let it go and just never play it again. I know that's what is probably the right answer. But right now I've just implemented some limitations that are working pretty good right now. Like, I only play it for, like, probably there's times when I play it for a total of like 2 hours in the day, but it's broken up into 2 hours sessions. Because like I was explaining before, the game completely reboots and you lose all your items and stuff every 6 hours. So my technique that I'm using is I'm only allowed to play it when there's only an hour left until it resets. And so then I have a hard reset that forces me off it because I lose all my stuff. And that's working right now. But I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I just need to be careful that I'm not, like, I'm doing good stuff, but it's like, I don't know if it's sustainable over the long term. And I need to get out of this cycle of like all or nothing. It's like I'm either making this huge push to be productive and I'm like doing all kinds of like stuff that probably isn't a normal day for most people, and then I'll go from that to just doing absolutely nothing, just like playing video games for 12 hours in a day or something. And I gotta find something sustainable. But what I'm doing now is I'm waking up. I get my kid ready for school, take him to school. I get home from that, and I do a little bit of reading in Plato's The Republic. That's what I'm reading right now. And I do some, I got this algebra workbook because I'm just trying to engage my brain, in something that requires focus, something that's pretty fun, but is not YouTube or a game or something that just destroys your attention span, something that might actually help your attention span. And so I do some algebra problems, and then I go and work out, and then I come back, or I should say I do the Plato and the algebra stuff, and then that's when I play an hour of the game, and then I go and work out, and then I eat my lunch and stuff, and then that's when I have a little bit of a just downtime. Like, I don't play the game, but I'm also not necessarily doing something productive. Like, basically that is when I'm watching YouTube videos or watching a show or something. Then I go to pick up my kid from school, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm making this video while I'm waiting in this damn pickup line. And then that's shortly after I drop him off is when I'll do another 1 hour or 45-minute round of playing the game. And then I will, and then honestly, like, at that point, well, then I have stuff I gotta worry about, like preparing his dinner and stuff. But I'm mostly done with trying to do productive stuff. It's just not playing the game is the main thing. But I watch maybe like a show on Netflix, get his dinner ready. Although today I think we're gonna go out to dinner. I have no dinner planned. And then after I put him to bed and I'm going to bed, then I've been reading the Bible in bed before I go to sleep. I've been reading. I'm starting with the Book of Matthew. Right now I'm going to read the New Testament before I even get into the Old Testament, because the Old Testament is like huge, man. And that's more of like, or it's less of the nitty gritty of Christianity, which that's something. That's another change I've made. As I started going to church. It wasn't because of Charlie. I started going back to church like a couple of months before Charlie was killed. But definitely Charlie's murder has made me even more like resolute in the fact that I want to really like strengthen my spiritual life. And so now I'm reading the Bible as well as going to church. And so I want to read the whole New Testament. That would be my goal. But definitely the Gospels. Obviously starting in the New Testament, the first 4 books of the Gospels. So I'm going to read those. And then we'll see if I read the rest of the New Testament, but that would be my goal. And then I go to bed. Sleep bad. So I'm trying to do better, and then throughout the day, I'm thinking about trying to find some way to invest my money. That I'm really considering doing Jersey Mike's franchise. I think that could be the thing for me to do. It's a risk financially, but anything like that's a risk financially, and it gives me something to actually engage myself with. It's like people think the dream is going to be, people think mailbox money is the dream, and I can tell you that I'm sort of living the dream. I mean, it's not like I make that much money, I'm not like a millionaire or something, but I'm living the dream where I make a full-time income without doing virtually anything. I mean, I do self-manage my rental properties, so I do something, but I mean, realistically, if you average it out over a year, it's probably taken up maybe like an average of 10 minutes of my day. There are times when it's taken up more than that because of turnover and maintenance issues and so forth. But on average, throughout the whole year, it's virtually nothing. And I don't have to work. But that's not really good, You notice all these people that are like super rich, but they just keep doing what they're doing. All these like billionaires, they still just work their ass off because that's what like makes life worth living. Just because you have money doesn't mean you just want to sit around and do nothing, So I'm really leaning towards doing this Jersey Mike's franchise. If all the stars align, it's going to depend on whether they accept me. I don't really know how discerning they are. I think they pretty much just want the money, but we'll see. And then there's also whether the location I want is going to be acceptable to them, and so on and so forth. Because I have a particular location in mind right now. I mean, I guess I would consider other spots, but I have this one spot that's like right across the street from my neighborhood that I really want to do. So we'll see. And that's it. That's pretty much what's going on with me. Let me know what's going on with you if you see this, which you won't. All right, see ya.